have been dubbed as the godfather of spiritual cinema. I like saying that. And I think it's wonderful how, and you know, like when people think of Hollywood, they think of Tinseltown, they think of, you know, shallow, banal, you know, oh, it's Hollywood, it's entertainment. But you really, at this time, we're seeing an emergence of people that have soul and people that have heart. And we're finding that film is a venue to bring deep messages to the people, and people are hungry for it. Don't you find that?
Yes, I do, and thank you for that. I think the spiritual cinema aspect of it is because I wrote my book about a few years ago about spiritual cinema, and it's always been a passion of mine to have spiritual cinema recognized as a genre. And I think that this is something that Hollywood and the media have missed. I think this is something that is coming about nowadays.
I'm a news anchor, and I get so frustrated when I'm told, you know, I want to create some positive news programming, and people say, no, nobody's interested in positive news. So what about you? Do you think that there's a place for positive cinema?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no question that there is. I mean, take a look at a film. I'm just going to use a film, for instance, like Forrest Gump, many years ago. A wonderful film. Don't you feel better about being a human being when you walk out of that film?
Sure do.
You know, you're right. Most of that is the way that things have been tipped. The language, our dialogue, our society has been tipped towards the negative. When you watch the news, when you read things, it's all about the bad things in the world. Well, of course, then that's what people are going to focus on. If you can find the kernels in that of humanity, and I'm not saying that this is a mainstream thing, because it's not. And we have no intention of trying to make it be that way. That's up to people to decide for themselves. But there are people, millions of people around the world, who do not want to have that constant barrage of darkness. So what do? You don't watch the news. You don't watch cable news. You don't watch the violent
things. People are getting rid of their televisions. They're
you know,
getting rid of them.
You
they don't
find
have televisions.
there are ways to find that entertainment. There are ways. And there are filmmakers out there who are desperately looking for venues to actually put that material into. That's one of the reasons that we formed the Spiritual Cinema Circle. That is one of the reasons that we're in business, which is we can actually distribute films to people around the world that filmmakers can do from a spiritual standpoint. And what we're finding now is that filmmakers are actually making movies that they can distribute through us because they know there's an audience there. Now, is that a big mainstream audience? No, it's not. But it doesn't have to be. You know, it can be a niche. That's what this is about. And frankly, that's what television is becoming. It's becoming niche broadcasting. You know, there's a bass fishing channel. You know, you know, if there's a bass fishing channel, there's going to be channels for spirituality.
I love the film. I mean, it's very deep. It's very heavy. I mean, it just pulls at your heartstrings. You know, you just have so much compassion for the character. And I just love some of the messages that you have in your book and the film. It really helps people to stop judging. I mean, that's one of the things that bugs me the most is people are so judgmental. You know, like they're judgmental. Well, I'm not going to listen to you if you're not perfect. You know, you've been married more than once, or you know. I just love it that you take that darkness and you turn it into gold. You know, that you learn so much from the bad times of your life, and we should stop judging ourselves for
I would just hope
faults.
that it wouldn't be perceived as being a heavy film, because I think there's a lot of lightness in it, and you know, it's really about being empowered. And I think that the spirituality of it and the humor and the humanity of it, what I'm hoping is that people will walk out feeling better about being human.
Right.
And I think from the early screenings that we've had, that's the response that we've had from people. And it sounds very simple. It sounds very simplistic to say, feel better about being human. But if you look at most television today, most films, most media, certainly if you look at cable news, do you really feel better about being human? And one of our goals was to have that happen. I think that's one of the features of spiritual cinema, is that the film is finished and you actually feel better about being a human being.
I was just going to say, Tamara, I agree with you on one level about the fact that some people can be judgmental. And what the film shows, for instance, about the homeless, a great deal of the movie has to do with life in a homeless camp, in a homeless park, a park for the homeless people. And what Stephen has managed to do in this movie is to depict the homeless as real people, people you actually come to love. One of the questions I'm asked more often than any other question, interestingly, after the screenings, we've been going around the country doing advanced sneak preview screenings of the movie to select small audiences around the country, and people ask questions after the film. One of the questions I inevitably get is, did you ever meet those homeless people again? They want to know what happened to those wonderful people that they met. in the movie, and this movie will give you a whole new idea, a whole new view, a whole new experience of the folks that we see on the street that are homeless, about whom we might have made judgments of a different nature heretofore. And not only, however, does the movie deal with those thoughts, our previous thoughts about the homeless, but our previous thoughts about larger issues as well. Our previous thoughts about God, our previous thoughts about life and the reason for all of life, our previous thoughts about our relationship to that whole experience of life, and our previous ideas that are held by many people that we are essentially alone, that we're essentially separate from God, separate from life, and kind of like walking down the path really pretty much alone when all is said and done. And this movie goes an enormous distance in removing that idea from the space and replacing it with just a warm and wonderful thought, which is what causes people to feel so good about being human, because it feels not only good to be a human being, but good to know that we're not really alone in any sense of the word, and that we are connected to the divine, and by that extension connected with each other in a very real and powerful way. That's the core message of this movie, and that's why it's so exciting to see it being made, and so wonderful to see audiences respond to it in the way they are.
You're doing it wrong!
It's the way I did it on the other side!
Nope, and don't go there. You're doing it wrong. Let me show you how to do it.
What the instructions
Nope,
say.
and don't go there. Let me show you how to do it. Tie the line to the tree, make it high enough so you don't kill yourself in the middle of the night.
Kinda wish I had one of those old canvas jobs. Let you pitch from the inside. I take it this isn't your first time pitching a... Ted.
I loved him bringing the homeless situation to light. Many people are a check away, a paycheck away from being in that experience. So bringing humanity, bringing a sense of humanity to people who are living in that experience was very potent.
It left me feeling uplifted to see that someone could go from literally eating out of garbage dumpsters to touching millions of people around the world and to not give up. So, you know, it was an inspiring message, and it was a nice break from the violence and fear and misogyny that you see so often in conventional American cinema.
I want to try and convince Hollywood that, you know, they can make money on selling love and compassion as much as they make money on fear. And they market fear like, you know, it's the last thing on earth. Well, there's a lot of love and compassion out there, and a lot of people that want to find that in their lives. That's what they need.